Computing, and Marty Sanders, who's the Executive Director, to talk to you a little bit about Atlantis Computing and how we think and they think that this might be able to help you in your data center. So with that, Marty?
Larry, thank you very much, and reiterate the point that Larry made. Thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us this morning or afternoon. We're going to take you through a run on Atlantis USX technology. Just quickly, one of the things, if you don't know much about Atlantis Computing, founded back in 2006, started shipping product back in 2009. I spent a lot of time in the storage industry, spent a lot of time most recently with one of the very large vendors, and when I sat down with one of the founders of Atlantis Computing, I was really excited just to see the way that he had thought about the product, taking the equation out of the hardware mix. As you know, every time that we go and look at a problem out in the industry, we're trying to solve it with a hardware to make it seem that it's going to be a much better solution. So as I go through this, please, I'd love to see questions as they come up. Make sure that this makes sense as we go through the entire technology. But if you see anything that you need more explanation on, please send us a question and we'll go through that. We're going to spend about the next 20 to 25 minutes going through the presentation, come back for a Q&A, and wrap it up. So with that, when you look at over the past couple decades, the server industry has been completely transformed by innovation in server virtualization, creating a lot of value for those customers. When you look at it in contrast, the storage industry has been very stagnant. 15K drives are still the fastest spinning drive. Even though we've done a lot of capacity upgrades, we haven't really done a lot of enhancements to the spinning drive. So as you go through, we're looking at all the different ways. As you get into those storage environments, the storage has not been keeping up with the transformation into the virtual server environment. When you need to add more capacity, what you're going to do is add more shelves of drives or add more disks into that existing shelf. When you want to add more performance, basically what you're going to be doing is looking at adding more 15-chip drives or going in and adding in other types of RAM or SSD drives into those environments. So as we go through, we just want to talk to you about how we're going to take care of some of this. When you look at some of the other things, adding in high availability or disaster recovery. The easiest way to do it today is go on and add a replication device, make sure that you're getting that capability so that you're providing that high availability or disaster recovery to your environments, making sure that you have that capability of the 5 nines or 6 nines of availability. The next thing that you look at is how do you handle scalability? Basically what you're going to be doing is adding in more controllers or more disks or whatever you want to do. But when we get to it, the answer is always more hardware. That's the approach that is, it's a very expensive approach as we take our move into there. If you look at the environment today, you look at the annual growth rate, it doesn't work. Today, when you look at the green line, basically the compounded annual growth of the environments is growing at about 40% a year. That means that your storage capacity is going to double every 2 years. When you look at the servers and the virtualization environment today, 74% of all servers are virtualizing in that environment. And what it does is it's just constantly driving more and more growth into that storage environment. So how do you keep up? You look at it and it's just going to get tougher and tougher. You just can't keep on adding more and more storage into those environments. So what do? As we start migrating into that environment, storage is software. It is not, when you start thinking about how to get better virtualization, how do you get better capacity, better performance, you start looking at it is no longer the solution is hardware. Hardware is the actual problem out there. So we're going to take a little bit different approach. As you start going into these environments, we're going to show you how you can add capacity without adding disks. It's going to be virtualizing that capacity, taking and making everything that you have in those environments, if it's a NAS or a SAN or localized disk, we want to make sure that we're going to be more efficient in all the process all the way through there. We're also going to add performance without adding flash. When you look at some of the capabilities and the way that we can go through and use our software to dedupe and also compress data, making everything available, putting it up into the right tier of storage by utilizing the flash or the localized drive, but again, providing that high availability and disaster recovery. We want to make sure that we're going to do that with our software approach as well. Same thing when you start adding in HA and VR. You don't need to go out and buy another SAN or NAS. You can do this with your existing infrastructure, utilize all the capabilities that you already have. Same thing when you start adding scalability. We're going to add in that virtual layer of software, again, getting the efficiencies that are so much better than what you're seeing in the industry today. So what does that mean? It's software is defined by the storage. When you start thinking about it, you look at the way that everything is laid out from the hardware approach. Today you have your SQL Exchange, your file servers, whatever you have, separated by the SAN, NAS, or DAS, whatever makes sense for those environments today. We're going to show you how that, we're going to move you into that more abstraction layer and pull all those resources in together and have that and being able to leverage the right type of storage for the right type of environments, putting it in from a performance standpoint as well as a capacity standpoint, so that we're going to get more efficient with everything all the way through. When you look at it today, software-defined storage, the transformation, again, we're not getting to that point where you can just add more and more hardware. Practically, what we need to do is just become more efficient at what we're going to do, using the software to increase the effective capacity through the entire environment. If you need more performance, you can use the software to accelerate the existing storage as well. You can solve the near-term problems with software at a much lower cost than buying more and more hardware. The next thing that you look at is the hyperconvergence. When you start looking at that shift into SAS, flash, SSD, RAM, whatever you need to do, what you're going to do is be changing over time and using those capabilities to get, it's a lower cost solution from going out and buying your NASs and SANs, just having and utilizing all those local storage for those right environments to make sure that we're going to get the best performance, the shared environment all the way through. And then even to Larry's point, as you go through and look at some of the capabilities that cStor offers today, is getting you out into the cloud. And you look at the reason why more and more aren't moving into the cloud today is the cost that it actually is. Also, not only the cost, but that delay that you're going to have. People can't run their enterprise solutions out in the cloud because of that latency that you might be paying for, even though it's a lower cost solution. What we'll do is we're going to talk about how we can take Atlantis USX and start moving more and more of those applications into the cloud. But rather than having those hundreds of milliseconds delay, we can now be looking at the capability of getting into the low 2 to 3 milliseconds and having that same cost perspective that you would get from the cloud. So using those benefits as we go through. As we look at it, if you look at the Atlantis USX, again, we have the capability to download that virtual storage array software into your environment, leveraging it across whatever that environment is, whatever your hypervisor is today, making sure that we have that capability to go through and utilize all your local shared or cloud storage, and making sure that we're going to get not only the effective performance that it's capable of, but even offering a better solution. We also offer capacity consolidation. When we go into the environment, if you have an existing storage array without the deduping compression, we can go into those environments, run it through the USX software, and we claim up to 80% of that space that you are already using, just by going through and deduping it and compressing that at the same time. One of the other benefits that you get with that is also the performance acceleration. When you run everything through USX, what we're going to do is keep those most frequently used blocks in that type of storage that will give you the best performance. If you look at the RAM and DAS as well as SSDs in those local systems, we want to make sure that we're going to offer that microsecond response time for those applications that need it and can benefit from it very quickly. The other would be getting to that next layer, again, adding in not only the capability of RAM, DAS, and SAN, but now also including into that cloud, into that true hyperconvergence environment where you have compute, storage, and cloud all in one, but making sure that we're going to provide that capability and that performance of the local attack. And also, something very important is making sure that we're going to encrypt and keep it very secure in those environments. I know that's one of the other requirements that we have looked at, is making sure anything that's going to go out in the cloud, that is one of the biggest concerns that we hear from our customers, is that it's not a secure or it's not a trusted environment. So we go through and use our encryption capabilities to make sure that we're going to offer that and keep that in a very secure environment as well. So how do you do that? As you look at introducing the USX platform, we have a couple different things that we'll go through. The first is, what we're going to do is take all those existing storage infrastructures that you have today and pool it. Taking, if it's NAS, SAN, whatever you want to do, what we want to do is make sure that we're going to extend the life cycle of that storage. We want to make sure that we're going to provide the greatest capabilities, greatest performance, and efficiencies that we can against your existing storage that you have today. The second piece that we're going to do is put our hybrid D2 content-aware data services across there as well. So when you look at this, what are all the services included? You can see across data reduction, again, going through and getting those efficiencies. If you look at the databases or file structures, we see anywhere from a 70 to 90% savings in the capacity. Same thing with I/O acceleration. Again, utilizing RAM or SSD or flash or whatever we wanted to do to guarantee the best performance across that entire infrastructure and having that same capability. As you go through and start utilizing this, we're completely integrated with the VDI capabilities. So if you're doing you wanted to do some fast provisioning of new clones or whatever you wanted to do, VDI, whatever you wanted to do in that environment, we have complete tie-ins into that as well. So we make very fast cloning process as we go through and do this. The next thing that you look at is the data mobility. Some of you may be using the capability to move a VM environment from one location to the other, and having the data follow that is the most important piece as well, making sure that as we move a VM from one location to the other, we can teleport or replicate that environment to a secondary location, depending on if it's for high availability or disaster recovery. And we talked about that security and data encryption as well. And the same thing from the business continuity, making sure that we provide the highest level of availability across your entire infrastructure. When you look at the next piece, what we wanted to do is keep it simplified as possible. When you look at the storage environment, being able to go into vCenter and configure all of the capabilities across, you can deploy capacity, performance, and availability across that by basically just checkboxing a few parameters here or there and make sure that you have those capabilities defined. If you need to have a performance-based solution, you can make sure that it's going to take advantage of all of the highest performing storage that is in your environment, or if it's just a capacity and you wanted to do savings, we can do that as well. And you can have a very mixed environment so that as the data ages and is transitioning from a very highly used state to a less used state, it's going to migrate down. If you can imagine it moving down from RAM all the way down to the cloud based on what those capabilities are. And then the last piece that we actually add in is the capability of an interaction with the vCenter, vVols, the vCAC, OpenStack, Cloud Stack, whatever it may be, from all the different components in there. If you look at it from the self-healing, autonomics, event-based management, we want to, again, make sure that we're going to, once you set it, basically go out and forget it. If you would have the capabilities to make sure that you need to have high availability, all you do is check that, or if it's something that you add in later, we can do that as well. You just go in and change that parameter. So as we go through, the next phase that you look at is how can you use Atlantis USX today? There's a couple different things that we've been looking at initially. One, again, is storage consolidation. We claim 80% of that SAN NAS that you have today. We talked a little bit about extending the life cycle of that SAN NAS by 5 years. One of the things that I look at is that capability of extending the life cycle. Some of those systems are still doing really well. Some of them just need to have that little additional performance or capacity. And what we can do by putting USX in those environments is extend that up to another 5 years life cycle. When you look at it, the other thing that you look at is performance. We can walk into those environments today just by adding some RAM or utilizing the RAM more efficiently. We can get that better performance, taking the performance and getting 10x the performance from some of the existing arrays that you have out there. And one of the things that we like to do, we want to maximize the the capabilities that you have within all of your capabilities of your systems today, and that's what we do really well. When you look at the next thing that you can do is also, as you transition from SAN to the lower cost environments, building those hyper-converged environments with the SSD or flash cards that you might put in those servers, we want to make sure that we're going to effectively use every component within there and give you the best total performance and best space utilization within those environments. And when you look at the performance of all of the SSD or the RAM or the flash-based solutions out there today, what we want to do is, if you look at the typical solution, you're going to have it isolated for one application or one eval or whatever you're going to have. What we want to do is make sure that we split that across so that we can get that effective performance to every application that needs that in that environment today. So how do we do this? When you start looking at it, again, we talked about increasing the available storage capacity by 5 times. You know, and you look at it, an 80% reduction of storage just by going in and looking at the dedupe and compressible data within those environments, extending the life cycle of your existing infrastructure, saving you a lot of cost. Even some of the capabilities that you look at, having the ability to, maybe I'm using a function, or maybe the function is not being used completely today, like an SRDF or something for replication. We can go in and take over some of those functionalities that may not be working the best, tie them into the USX technology, and allow you to take some of those features away from your maintenance plan or something like that. So we want to come in and, again, provide the same level of availability or higher, but also reduce the cost. And then it also allows you to move into that environment where we're going to be doing a hyper-converged system, incorporating all those different capabilities within there, getting you the best performance across your entire infrastructure. We talked about extending the life cycle of the space itself. If you look at this, and this is just a traditional environment with the growth rate of 40% year on year, if you were to start today with 100 terabytes, and you look at, you know, within the next couple of years, within the next 4 years, that would push you with the red line basically to 500 plus terabytes of space over the next 4 years. When you look at what Atlantis can do, starting at the same point and utilizing our compression and dedupe rate by reducing it by 80%, what we're going to do is, even on day one, you can see that we reduced it down to 20 terabytes, and what we're going to do is extend that life cycle out beyond into that, I think it's actually about August of 2021, from a time standpoint, where we can actually utilize the same system out there. So you look at the extending the life cycle of the current storage infrastructure as far as you possibly can. When you look at it, reclaiming that space, showing the existing, save over 400 terabytes over 4 years. Not only is the cost of the actual storage, but think about the cooling and the space that you have in those environments as well. So the overall capacity and savings is just incredible when you can do that. And also, once you start buying new storage, you can go in and buy a lower cost storage as you're increasing that as well. So you're going to get the benefits of that. And then once you get to that next point, you need to add in that cloud capability. Again, having the same performance-based capabilities, but at a fraction of the cost. As you go through and look at the performance acceleration, what we're going to do is maximize the performance in the entire system. I mean, when you look at it, if you had a system today with a capability of 100,000 IOPS, and you look at the price per IOP, that's our goal, is to go in and make sure that we're giving you the best performance on the system from the very get-go, but also allowing you to mix and match those different applications in those environments. Allowing you here, there's a couple different systems that you look at, and you look at you can deliver higher IOPS at a fraction of the cost as well. And that's just by utilizing the existing storage that you have today, just making sure that we're keeping those most frequently read blocks in the place that it is the quickest access to. So when you look at it, you can decrease the overall cost and increase the number of IOPS in those environments. And we can do this, again, across your existing SAN NAS environment or to that hyper-converged environment as you move forward. One of the things that you look at as you move into the data center is the capability of moving into the cloud. This is something that we've been concentrating more and more on. Obviously, with the capabilities, depending on where you are in proximity to some of the data centers from a cloud perspective, it ranges in the millisecond range from anywhere from 200 millisecond response time to 900 milliseconds. Our goal is to take the same capability and move from those environments and give you that low 2 to 10 millisecond response time on any of those applications, yet effectively using all the capacity out there, as well as making sure that it's encrypted in those environments so that you're not going to have to worry about any of that as well. As you go through, moving more of those capabilities out there, sorry about that, moving more of those capabilities into the cloud is something that obviously as we transition through, you're going to see more and more transitions. Moving that storage pool from your localized environment, or having just that mix, that hyper-converged environment across everything within your data center as well. With that, I'm just going to go through and cover a couple things. I know from a resource standpoint, we wanted to make sure that you look at all the blogs. There's a lot of reports, press releases on, and just comments on what USX is doing for the industry. We also have a weekly or bi-weekly demo of the product. I know when I look at the product, I think it's a great presentation, but when you see it in action and see it in those environments, what I like to do is actually invite everybody to come out and take a look at the demo. There's videos out online, so please take a look at all the solution briefs. We'll be out at the M-World here in the next month and a half. So again, thank you very much. And with that, Brian, I'll open it up for questions.
Alrighty, so do any of the attendees have any questions for Larry or Marty? If you do, you're more than welcome to type it into the chat. Alright, it does look like we do have a couple of questions. Looks like from Paul Barkley, we have a question that says, how is the USX product priced?
Great question, Paul. Right now it's actually priced by terabyte, right, from a capacity standpoint. So what we would do is come into the environment, work with you to make sure that we understand exactly how much of the capacity you have. So we would look at that, and initially what we would do is just from a sizing standpoint, again, look at what you have from the total terabytes or petabyte range, whatever you want to do, we price it that way.
All right, and it looks like we have another question from Nathan Vari. Sorry if I mispronounced your last name. It says ESXi 5.1 and Win Server 2012. Are they Hyper-V capable?
So right now we are only running on top of ESX. Hyper-V we will be adding in the August-September timeframe of 2014. So it's very closely behind, but we will be we have been running on ESX for both 5.1 and 5.5. So, and we're also working very closely with VMware to launch on 6.
All right. Well, is there any additional questions from the attendees? All right. We do have another question. Again, this is from Nathan. What if you're only using a fraction of the storage capacity that you have available as far as pricing?
What we can do is basically whatever capacity you would like. In fact, we offer a 400 gigabyte free trial. So what you could do is download it, try it on that 400 gigabytes just to see what you want, and as you start to add more capacity in, you can pay by capacity.
And Larry asks, how long is the free trial good for?
The free trial is actually good forever. Hopefully you'll see the benefits of not only the 400 gigabytes, hopefully you would see it, the benefits of the compression feeding, and get so much more across that 400 gigabytes that you'd want to utilize it across all of your environment. But the 400 gigabytes is a free license.
All right. Well, I believe we're going to wrap up the Q&A there. I'm not seeing that. But we'll answer this one last question, and then we'll have to go on forward. But this is from Nathan Vari. So when Hyper-V is launched with per gigabyte model apply to both, will it apply to both Hyper-V and ESX, or are they licensed separately?
You can have a mixed environment. Once we launch with Hyper-V, you can run in a mixed environment, and it would be capacity together. So you would have both CIFS, NFS, or block level devices as well. And then we will be adding KVM. That will be at around the end of the year as well. So you can have a mixed environment with any hypervisor, and it'll be a shared environment across all the storage.
All right. And any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to cStor or even Atlantis. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer those for you. I believe with you registering, we do have your contact information as well. This webinar has been recorded, so there will be an archived version of it. Larry, Gentry, are you still with us? All right. Seeing I didn't hear a response back from Larry, this is their next steps with cStor. If you would, just look over that. If you have any additional questions for more information, as you can see at the bottom, you can visit their website or feel free to set up an appointment with their phone number that they have listed at the bottom. With that being the case, I appreciate everybody coming out today. I guess have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Brian.